First of all, common illnesses and infection. That is a high area, so you don't have to drive in, sit in a germ-infested waiting room, and then drive home. Follow-up appointments. Again, that's like, you go in, how you feeling? Oh, I'm feeling good. Any problems? Did the medicine work? Did the scan, was it good? So why couldn't you just do that on a computer or face to face? Why are people doing telehealth calls now than they didn't do before? Well, certainly COVID sped things up. There's not enough healthcare providers. Population's getting older. And the real benefit is doctors are being reimbursed now for telehealth calls. So they can actually see more patients quicker, more efficiently than going from room to room to room and putting on gloves and re-sterilizing their hands and them being exposed as well. So it makes for a lot better experience for not only the doctor, but really for the patients themselves. Talk therapy, that would be a psychologist. Why not be in the comfort of your own home instead of being in a sterile environment? Management of chronic conditions. You mentioned that you've got diagnosed with congested heart failure. So a lot of that could be just, hey, how you feeling? What's going on? I'm looking at your blood test results. You've got the blood test results. We're both looking at it together. And that makes it a lot easier for everybody as well. Annual physicals, that's a little bit surprising to me, but actually it's very, very efficient. Again, that's when we go get a physical these days, they may put their hands on you, they may not. They might just say, go get a blood test, and we'll discuss that. And why couldn't we just have done that over the computer or phone? Specialist visits. The great thing about telehealth is you used to go see a specialist. It might be somebody in your area. But with telehealth, you can actually see a specialist absolutely anywhere in the world. Just like we're having a Zoom call here. Well, we got people dialing in from all over the world as well. Physical therapy, how about that one? You bet you never thought of that. They're actually getting better results with people doing physical therapy in their own home versus going into a facility. And especially if you just had knee surgery or hip or shoulder surgery, boy, how uncomfortable is that to get in your car and drive somewhere for 20 or 30 minutes? So telehealth is expanding very, very quickly. One of the challenges with a telehealth call is there's no standardization of the software. And so when you log on, usually what happens is the doctor says, hey, would you like to do a telehealth call? And you go, well, I guess so. I don't know. Is that going to be easy or not? I don't really know. I've never done one. And they'll say, well, we'll send you a link, usually through email. And you'll click on the link and you'll go to this website and it will open up and you log in. And every piece of software is a little bit different. Those websites are a little bit different. The chat might be on one side, your mute might be on another. So it's a little bit unfamiliar for everybody. It's not completely standardized yet, but it is getting easier for the user. It's not perfect, but it is getting easier. And on some occasions, if it doesn't work on your computer, what the doctor ends up doing is says, can we just have a phone call? And they'll just call you on your phone. So that's the default in case everything doesn't work. But we're going to hopefully get through that this afternoon in this class. So how do you prepare for an appointment? Really no different than when you would if you went to an appointment in person. Make sure you have your medications or a list of your medications, your herbs, your vitamins. If you're going to the doctor because you don't feel well, keep a log in advance, maybe a few days or a week before you're going to the doctor. Write things down. What is your mood? What are you eating? What's your activity level? So when you're talking to the doctor, you can kind of get them a full report. About a week ago, I started to not feel good. Well, what were you doing then? What were you eating? Where were you? Were you traveling? Whatever. Again, write down how you feel. Have your medical history nearby. That's important. Doctor might not have quick access to all your medical history, but if there's certain highlights in your healthcare history, you might want to share it with the doctor. If you have specific questions, write them down in advance. And then you can ask the doctor, I have a few questions, 3 or 4 or 5 questions. Do you mind if I ask you the questions? And they'll say, well, we'll wait a few minutes and we'll get to the top 3. I don't have a lot of time today, but let's get to the top 3 questions. They don't mind you asking questions because they know they have a highly engaged patient who wants to get better and will get better. And that makes it a lot better appointment for them, and they get better results. If it's an important appointment, well, the best thing to do is bring another set of ears with you. And by that, I mean bring a friend, a family, a neighbor, somebody with you that can listen to what the instructions are for the doctor if you're able to do that, or have them in the room with you when you're doing the telehealth call, wherever you're doing that from. Also, another thing to check, if the doctor had made the appointment to say, let's do a telehealth call, more than likely they've checked with your insurance to make sure it is reimbursed. But on some occasions, it is not. And you may have to check with your doctor first to say, hey, I'm doing a call with this specific doctor. Is this going to be covered? In most cases, it will, but you may want to check. State any pre-existing conditions that you might have. That's pretty obvious. Also, I had a learner share with me. She has a calendar. She writes everything down on her calendar, and she brings her previous year calendar and her current year calendar so she can make appointments and see and look back at things that have happened to her, or maybe exams or tests or certain doctors that she had seen in the past. So if you're one of those that writes everything down on your calendar, good to have it with you. Put any medical devices close at hand, and we'll talk about that in a second. Any questions with any of this? Probably pretty self-explanatory, but it's always good to get reminded. Okay. If you're in the appointment, whether you're at home or you're in person, you can always ask the doctor, do you mind if I record our conversation? And most times they say, yeah, that's no problem, record it. Because they realize that if you record their conversation, you're not going to call up and bother the front staff who's already overworked. And what you'll say, well, what did the doctor say? He told me to do this and that. I don't remember what he said. If you record it, you can listen back at your own convenience. What's surprising about recording the conversation is probably half the things the doctor said you never heard. Because when you're in a room or you're in an appointment, a telehealth call, you're not really looking or listening to everything. You're staring at maybe their hair or earrings or maybe shoes, or maybe you got sidetracked and talked about a trip you were on or they were on. So if you have an Android phone or an Apple phone, they have memo recording apps already built in to the phones that will record the audio. You can also go to the Play Store and download other recording apps as well. So that is an easy way to capture all the notes. Stay focused on why you actually have this appointment. It's hard to do sometimes. Be honest with your doctor. If you don't hear something, you're shaking your head, I agree, or yes, but you didn't really hear him. Say, you know what, I didn't hear that correctly, or my ears don't work as well as they used to. Could you repeat that? Can you speak louder? I was in an appointment with my mother who's 92 and she has congestive heart failure too. And we asked the cardiologist, he said, can you speak up? He's wearing a mask and he's very soft spoken. And we said, can you speak up? Well, first of all, he said, could you remove your mask? He said, no. Okay, well, I understand that. I said, can you speak up? He said, that's the best I can do. Well, fortunately, I was actually recording the conversation, so we were able to go back and listen later.